Welcome, everyone, to Buddha's Path to Freedom, the podcast where we explore the rich tapestry of Buddhist teachings and their relevance to our lives today.
Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Anna.
And I'm Darren. Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating Jataka tale known as the Ananusociya Jataka, the 328th story in the collection. This story, recounted by the Buddha himself, offers profound insights into the nature of suffering and the path to liberation.
Let's begin by setting the scene in the time of the Buddha. Our story opens with a landowner who has been overcome by immense grief. His wife has passed away, and his sorrow is all-consuming.
Indeed. The source tells us that he was so depressed that he stopped eating, bathing, and even caring for his farm. His days were spent wandering in the cemetery, consumed by his loss. This paints a vivid picture of the debilitating power of grief.
It was during this time that the Buddha, with his wisdom and compassion, divined that this man was ready for a spiritual breakthrough. Recognizing that he alone could guide the landowner out of his despair, the Buddha went to the man's house after his morning alms round.
The Buddha, with his characteristic skillful means, didn't directly chastise the man for his grief. Instead, he began by teaching him a fundamental truth of existence. All things are impermanent. He gently explained that one should not grieve excessively over what is inevitably lost.
To illustrate this profound teaching, the Buddha then shared a story from one of his past lives, a Jataka tale. This is the heart of the Ananusociya Jataka that we'll now explore in detail.
In this past life, the Bodhisatta, the being who would eventually become the Buddha, was born as an ascetic, living a simple life with his wife in the Himalayas. Interestingly, the Bodhisatta himself had no desire for marriage. However, his parents insisted.
To navigate this situation, the Bodhisatta had a unique approach. He commissioned the creation of a golden statue of a woman, so beautiful it resembled a celestial being. He then told his parents that he would only marry someone who possessed the same exquisite beauty as this statue.
Determined to fulfill their son's condition, the Bodhisatta's parents sent emissaries across India in a carriage carrying the golden statue. They were instructed that if they found a woman who matched its beauty, they were to offer the statue to her parents in exchange for her hand in marriage.
As fate would have it, their emissaries eventually encountered a young woman who was described as being as pure and beautiful as a nymph, and remarkably, she looked exactly like the golden statue. Similar to the Bodhisatta, this woman also did not wish to marry. However, her parents agreed to the exchange, and she was sent to live with the Bodhisatta.
Despite their marriage, the Bodhisatta and his wife lived a remarkable life. The story emphasizes that they maintained a virtuous and celibate existence, as if they were saints. This highlights their deep commitment to spiritual principles, even within a household setting.
As their story continues, the Bodhisatta's parents eventually passed away. Following this, the Bodhisatta and his wife made a significant decision. They gave away their vast wealth and renounced the world to pursue a life of deeper spiritual practice.
Their ascetic life took them on travels, and on one occasion, while they were in the city to obtain salt and seasoning, they resided in the royal park. After consuming some low-quality rice, the Bodhisatta's wife unfortunately fell ill with dysentery and grew weak.
The narrative then recounts a poignant moment. Before his morning alms round, the Bodhisatta lovingly carried his ailing wife to the city gate and laid her down on a bench. While he was away gathering food, tragically, she passed away.
Upon his return, the scene he encountered was one of profound sorrow. A crowd had gathered around his wife, weeping and lamenting her death. However, the Bodhisatta's reaction was strikingly different. He simply sat down on the bench beside her and calmly began to eat.
This reaction understandably shocked the onlookers. They were astounded that he appeared to feel no sorrow over the death of his wife. It was at this point that the Bodhisatta seized the opportunity to impart a profound lesson.
He explained to the bewildered crowd the fundamental truth of impermanence, stating that death is inevitable and that sorrow serves no beneficial purpose. His composure in the face of such loss was a powerful testament to his understanding of the nature of reality.
Following his teachings, the people then performed the funeral rites for his wife. Afterward, the Bodhisatta, having demonstrated the power of detachment and understanding, returned to the Himalayas alone.
Now let's connect this powerful past story to the present situation of the grieving landowner. The source explicitly states that the Bodhisatta's wife in the past life was an earlier birth of the Buddha's wife in his final lifetime.
This connection is crucial. By sharing this Jataka tale, the Buddha was not just telling a story, he was illustrating his own past experience with loss and how he had come to understand and accept the impermanent nature of life.
This brings us to the deep dive into the Ananusociya Jataka. What are the key values and lessons we can glean from this story, and how do they relate to our lives today?
Firstly, the story powerfully underscores the Buddhist principle of impermanence, anicca, both in the landowner's experience of losing his wife and in the Bodhisatta's past life. We see the undeniable reality that nothing lasts forever. Relationships, possessions, and even life itself are subject to change and eventual cessation.
The Bodhisatta's reaction to his wife's death, while seemingly detached, highlights the importance of wisdom, paññāña, in navigating life's inevitable losses. His understanding of impermanence allowed him to respond with equanimity rather than being overwhelmed by sorrow. This doesn't mean he didn't care, but rather that he understood the futility of excessive grief.
We can also see the contrast between the landowner's initial reaction, which is driven by attachment and clinging, and the Bodhisatta's learned response, which is rooted in understanding. The landowner's grief paralyzes him, preventing him from living his life. The Bodhisatta, while perhaps feeling the natural pang of loss, does not allow it to consume him.
This story doesn't suggest that we shouldn't feel sadness when we experience loss. It acknowledges the human experience of grief. However, it encourages us to reflect on the nature of our attachment and whether our sorrow is serving us or hindering our ability to move forward and understand reality.
Absolutely. In our present time, we face loss in many forms: the death of loved ones, the end of relationships, the loss of jobs, and even the impermanence of our own health. The Ananusociya Jataka reminds us to cultivate an understanding of impermanence as a way to navigate these challenges with greater resilience and peace.
It also speaks to the importance of spiritual development. The Bodhisatta's ability to respond to loss with such composure was not an inherent trait, but the result of his virtuous life and deep understanding of the Dhamma. This suggests that cultivating wisdom and detaching from clinging can lead to greater inner peace in the face of life's inevitable changes.
Furthermore, the Buddha's compassionate act of sharing this story with the grieving landowner highlights the role of teaching and guidance in overcoming suffering. The landowner was, quote, ready for a spiritual breakthrough, and the Buddha, with his wisdom, provided the necessary teachings to initiate that transformation. This underscores the value of seeking and offering spiritual guidance in times of difficulty.
So, as we reflect on the Ananusociya Jataka, let us consider our own responses to loss and change. Can we cultivate a deeper understanding of impermanence? Can we learn to navigate grief with wisdom and acceptance, rather than being overwhelmed by attachment? This ancient story continues to offer profound guidance on the Buddha's path to freedom from suffering.
Thank you for joining us on Buddha's Path to Freedom. We hope this exploration of the Ananusociya Jataka has offered you valuable insights.
Join us next time as we delve into another fascinating aspect of Buddhist teachings. Until then, may you find peace and understanding on your own path.